Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Stupid Player Negative AE, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Last we left off, we had a massive, setup kind of chapter. But first, before we get into the next chapter, you guys know that I wanted to read some of the tips because I've been kind of neglecting them. I think we're on this last one right here, and then these two. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly read through this. This might be a little bit longer than usual. Who knows? We'll see. I'm interested to get back in the story, though. We'll see. So let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. Quite a roundabout response. You're saying that one does it indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state, like that? It's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression, bipolar. Yes, I know this. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressive state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide. Nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has the opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as if they were walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. Interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. See. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting upon their impulses. Then was Tomitaki bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm, as though going through withdrawal, is completely different. Tomitaki's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine doses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Bibutyrate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. Sleep aid. There are no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry, and he could have hit his head, and those factors might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl that made him go haywire. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. Two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. All right, so we're just kind of talking about Tomitaki-san and why he died. And they explained the difference between bipolar disorder and depression, clinical depression, which I kind of knew already. So, I mean, it's good to know that, like for people that don't know that, you know. I don't know. That makes me think that it's part of the story that like they're gonna introduce that somewhere. Herm, those guys just now, they had national diet badges. Then it's prefectural assembly member and city councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The prefectural assembly member and city council are related. It's dirty, is what it is. Shouting out each other's names during elections. While one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly, and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activity. Umachan, the investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on your election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division because I'm dumb. There was prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them okay. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and deputy chief. Came to me. At night, when the chief invited me to get along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. Huh? You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Did you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and a fish cake. Counselor barked at me in the police chief's stead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. The petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me. I've not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomitaki's death, actually. Really? If that's true, then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Phew, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi. I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were ready to go. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. We'll see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oishi-san. Yeah. Past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villages half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're gonna be retiring next year, aren't you? Aren't you gonna pay off the your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Susukino. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public servant's pension is calculated based on... Okay, thank you. So if you were to get a raise right before your retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated, and you get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief. But, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end, it really just has to do with the passage of time. That's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I like that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. You'll get it. You're an adult after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the lights. Oh man, I wonder if I can really repay that loan. Okay, so I gained a couple pieces of information from that. Sonozaki family is ruler of everything in Hinamizawa. Is that what I'm understanding correctly? And then, so that's stupid. First, second of all, it was hard to understand who was talking there. But it looks like the police are involved. So I'm thinking back to when I said that I think the whole town's involved. I'm thinking that's more and more the case. But we'll have to see. This is the last tip that we're going through today. And then we will go back into the store. Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder. Maybe he's on his period. Michan, that's gross. Yuck, yuck, yuck. What do you think? Don't know. See that Kei-chan? Maybe. I don't know. That day, Kei-chan was in that car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, mistake. That Oishi probably fed him something fishy. He was so serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale. See, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyashiro-sama? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. Hold on. Oh, is that so? The year before last when Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oishi. Now you mention it, it happened before Satoshi-kun transferred out. You're so sweet, Rena. So this time he's appeared before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun is going to be demoned away too? Empty silence hung in the air, and then it was suddenly interrupted. So who am I right now? That loud laughter. My laughter? Okay. I was on the cusp of being like, oh, maybe that's not true. Maybe maybe Oishi-san is the evil one and I've just been led the wrong way by the game. But then it was interrupted by laughter, so they're just laughing about me being demoned away. I don't know. Who was I in that Ips? Was I just an omniscient presence? I don't know. This is the first time I've ever woke with such clarity. It was just 5:59, just moments before my alarm would go off. I was amazed at the precision of my internal clock. I had made preparations for the next day of school before I went to bed. I changed quickly and descended to the deserted lower floor. It appeared that my mom was still asleep. Neither breakfast nor lunch was ready. Yesterday, I had unilaterally declared that I would be leaving early today, so it couldn't be helped. I slathered some jam on some bread and topped it with some instant cocoa. Just as I was finishing up breakfast, Mom rose groggily from her slumber. Hi, Keiichi, you're up early. Is there some sort of school event? Not really. Answering bluntly, I picked up my bag and stood after stuffing 2 slices of bread down my throat. You're leaving already? What about lunch? If you don't wait a bit, I can't make it. If I waited for her to make my lunch, then it would end up being the same time as usual. If I did that, it would raise the chances of me running into Rena and Mion on the way. Yes. From today onwards, I was going to go to school alone. I'll be fine for today. And what will you do for lunch? I'll slip out and buy some bread or something at the store. Really? Then here's some lunch money. Be sure to bring me back the receipt. I took the 10,000 yen bill, is that $10, and slipped into my pocket. It's pretty early. Is Rena-chan up this early as well? No, just me. Did you tell Rena-chan that you're leaving early? I have no reason to tell her every little detail now, do I? Finding it difficult answering the onslaught of questions, I made an annoyed face. Tell Rena that I went ahead when she comes. Hey, Keiichi, wait. It's not that I didn't trust my parents. I just couldn't rely on them. They couldn't help me. I could only hope that they didn't get involved. Safer that way. My mom's annoying voice was cut off by the slam of the door. That's a weird way to describe your mom. She's just looking out for you. For the first time since I moved here, I headed down the road to school alone. I was half expecting Rena to be there, just outside, waiting for me, you know? Like, how long were you waiting there, Rena? Up until now, I'd always walked down the same path at the same time each day, so I always met with the same people at the same places. But today was different. I didn't meet the people I would normally, and nobody was at the places where I would have normally met them. Of course, Rena wasn't in the spot we usually met, and there wasn't anyone at the spot where we would have met up with me on. The length of the tree's shadows, the morning air, and the brightness of the sun was a completely different type of morning than what I was used to. Without a doubt, it felt strange. It left me with the impression that I had destroyed the illusion Hinamizawa had set up for me before it had enough time to prepare all of the props it needed to deceive me. An interesting sentence to read. My Keiichi-kun. Oh. You're so early today. Is everyone meeting early this morning? The person who called out to me was someone we always passed by as they were talking or taking a walk along the edge of the field. The name was... forgot. Of course, this wasn't the spot where we usually passed each other. I woke up early today, so I thought it would be a good change of pace. That's all. I threw out a random excuse. What about Rena-chan and Mion-chan? Are you by yourself today? Well, yeah. I was being asked the same type of questions my mom was asking, so I answered them in the same uninteresting vague manner. It wasn't funny being asked where Rena was each time I passed someone, but maybe it was to be expected. It was because for so long we were always together, so amicably. Even I felt that if I let my guard down, we could still be friends. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't think about that anymore. You spent all day yesterday thinking about how dangerous it was to go soft, didn't you? Beep, beep, beep. A car horn blared out of nowhere. Even though I was walking lost in thought, that horn was way too close. A mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis was almost on top of me. I'd seen plenty of cars veer to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. Interesting. Why? Felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder and the van was swerving in my direction to avoid them. That blissfully ignorant train of thought delayed me from realizing something much, much more important. The large mass was hurling right at me. Was it going to hit me? The inside of my head instantly flooded with the painfully cold liquid. In that moment, the scene before me, no, time itself had frozen. Rena? Someone's got to be driving this car. In the silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van so close that I had no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half, twisted awkwardly in order to look behind me. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause and I would probably be plowed over, caught in this silly pose. Bend my upper body over towards the paddy by the side of the road. If I bent far enough, I'd get away with just being hit from the side view mirror. As soon as the thought had crossed my mind, the temporal stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. The side mirror struck my shoulder, setting me spinning off through the air like a top, locked in my contorted position. Jesus. Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy paddy by the side of the road. My entire body was soiled and drenched. But the choice I had made in that instant was unmistakably for the best. I was covered in mud, but when the alternative was being hit by the car, I was the closest I could be to being unscathed. Rising out of the paddy, I had enough in me to glare over at the stopped van and yell profanities at the driver. I'm not sure if he was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. So that's Rena, hands down, right? Like 100%. Wait, damn it. This was what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? I couldn't help but continue yelling out profanities. The disgrace from being covered in mud hurt me more than any physical wounds. I slogged through the muddy paddy and made my way back onto the road. This is a crime, goddammit. Shit, I'll track you down and sue you. If I go looking for a van, I'm sure to find it in this little village. The path I was on, so that's 100% Rena. Had rice paddies on either side, and it had become so narrow that one car could barely fit through. It wasn't a place you could tear full speed down in a car, let alone pass by pedestrians. Not only was it a narrow road, but the car just now was way closer to my side of the road than the other when it passed me. Even as I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cloud roiling up within me. Yeah. Oh no, it definitely was trying to run you over, dude. Thinking back, I did feel like there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. Right, as soon as I parted ways with that person taking a walk, I had the whole town is in on it. It's either that was Rena or the whole town's in on it. If it had wanted to pass me, then it had no shortage of chances. Normally, I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner. But I was lost in thought, and now was kicking myself for not realizing it was there sooner. Then, when the path became narrow and there was no one else in sight, he floored it. She floored it. If I had hesitated even for a moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided, the realization of just how terrifying the preceding events were. Realization sunk in. Okay, got it. There was no doubt about it, that van was intentionally trying to hit me. Cold, vicious sweat seeped from my scalp, slid down my back before dribbling off. I struggled to avoid falling into a panic. There was still the possibility that this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiichi. Also, don't be so naive, Keiichi. Being that lax will get you killed next time. You always need to be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. If my enemy was really out to kill me, then the next time they would use a more reliable method. If that time came, and I was acting like I was now, I being covered in mud was the price I had paid for my own naivete. Covered in mud, but without injury, not even a sprain, I guess is what you would call the silver lining. As I began walking again, this time cautiously. I wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I had suspected only Rena and the others up until now. No. It was because I suspected them that I had believed that there were no other enemies. Oishi-san had said so, didn't he? There was a possibility that all the families of the village were involved? Was I really mired so deeply in this situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Wouldn't it be safest just to hole myself up in my house? No. But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. It was just too horrifying of a thought. I recalled the tales of Oishi-san told me when Hinamizawa still called Onagafuji, a frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must pretend not to see it. My enemy were numerous, all the village families. The villagers, with their unwavering faith in the curse, would do nothing to help me. A strong, sudden flash of sunshine made me feel slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. When I suspected it was the work of man, I could catch a glimpse of Oyashiro-sama's curse. And when I suspected it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, someone would poke their head out. What was coincidence? What was intentional? Who was my enemy and who was just a bystander? No. What I really truly wanted to know was, how did I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually, an answer in a form I could understand will appear. I don't care when that will happen, because until then I cannot die. That alone fueled my resolve to fight and keep me alive. Okay, so there's a couple things, and there's a couple reasons why I'm scared. Because I come from the background of Danganronpa, and in Danganronpa, the visual novel takes you in a direction, and it so blatantly takes you on that direction that it could be no other person but that person is evil, you know? And then they flip it on you using little tiny things that weren't as obvious, you know? So I don't know how tricky this game is going to get, because I know what the game is trying to make me believe, which is that the whole town is in on it, and that Rena and all of them are like the main heads, you know? But I don't know if it's going to be like, boom, Oishi-san is part of it, or boom, my parents are evil too, you know? Because they did pull the whole parent questioning thing, that they could be part of it. I don't know. We're going to see what happens. I remembered seeing the metal bat in the gym storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at the school. I circled around the school grounds impatiently, but all I could find were things like pieces of lumber, nothing that I could bring into the classroom that easily. Then, I had an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. If it was something in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. I could tell that everyone's indoor shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early. Nobody else was here yet. I wondered, what could I find in the classroom? I didn't think I could find an especially effective weapon like a bat, but it couldn't be helped at this point. Until the gym storage shed was open, I needed to find a substitute. A lingering hint of my naivete whispered that there was no way I'd be attacked at school, but just soft ideas would no longer protect me. To think that they were slowly making... Dude, you're going to be attacked at school 24/7. If the whole town is in on it, are you kidding me? To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had once thought impenetrable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. Exactly. That was an incredibly frightening thought. But I believed that, not considering the worst case scenario, would have been even more frightening. Anyways, I will survive. So as long as I lived, then I will definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. Definitely. My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. That much was to be expected. There was no way there would be anything that could be a weapon in the classroom. In case of emergency, there was probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. My gaze landed on the lockers that came to be used for personal storage. The locker that Mion used to store her pile of games was among them. There was one for each person in the class, all lined up. Of course, there were one for me as well. Oh yeah, there was supposed to be... Wait, there was supposed to still be a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. I should go change later. But first I needed a weapon. If one of my classmates came, it would be hard to rummage through all the lockers. I swiftly began opening the lockers one by one, mostly just filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, until you see Rena's locker. Umbrella. If I couldn't find anything better, then this had to be my weapon. I was about to give up on finding anything decent when I opened up a locker that held exactly what I wanted. It was without a doubt a metal bat. It was well worn and pretty beat up, but there was no doubt that it was usable. In that locker that reeked of mold, there also hung a baseball uniform. Probably the locker of a student in a Pee Wee League or something like that. If that was the case, then he'd probably ask for it back. At the time, I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily in from the hallway. Amongst them, I could make out Rika-chan and Satoko. Good morning. My, you're quite early this morning, Keiichi-san. I nonchalantly hid the bat that I was holding behind my back. This is when they're like, so what's that bat that you're holding there? What's with your outfit? You're covered in mud. Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm going to change now, so cut me some slack. With that said, I began taking off my clothes. Satoko began to blush just as I expected her to. Changing in front of a lady? Have you no tact at all? I would think that a lady staring at someone who was changing would be the one lacking in tact. There's no changing room for the boys, so just deal with it. As Satoko feigned in disgust, she went into the hall, still blushing. Conversely, Rika-chan continued to stare at me, preparing to change. If Rika-chan is a lady as well, then I don't think it would be appropriate for you to be watching. So what's that bat that you got? Watch. I'm not a lady, so it's fine. What? She deliberately pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Starting now, you're a lady. If I'm a lady, then I suppose I must. Something about being alone with Rika-chan in a thing. Okay. Rika-chan, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Satoko in the hallway. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, Rika-chan stopped and suddenly turned. Oh, goodness me. Here we go. Yeah. Are you going to start playing baseball? Yeah, here's the bat reference. It seemed that Rika-chan had noticed the bat. Yeah, just, you know. I was feeling a bit out of shape, so I thought I'd just try practicing my swing. I think it's wonderful you're taking care of your health. And I'm gonna kill you. She was talking like an old lady despite her appearance. After saying that, Rika-chan started to leave again, but stopped and looked back at me once more. And eyes. Please don't lose that bat. She already knew that I took it out of someone's locker. There was no name on the locker door. I didn't know whose bat it was, but I would be borrowing it until they complained. It wouldn't be for long, just until the gym storage shed was open. After quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. I still had plenty of time before class began because I came so early. I took the bat in one hand and went out to the schoolyard. That was, of course, to practice my swing. I needed to make it known that I would always have a bat on me so I could practice my swing. At some point, the sunlight became even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as they made their way to school, I took my position in the shadow of the school building. I wasn't the academic type, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. I might get muscle pain if I just suddenly started swinging, so I should start out with some warm-ups. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary, which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. I gripped the bat and swung lightly. The bat was by no means light. The weight would make it a reliable weapon when I needed it to be. Of course, I could only pray that the moment I needed to use this as a weapon would never come. Just carrying it around would deter attacks against me. At least that's what I had hoped. Huh? Kei-chan? What are you doing? Being bombarded with a hysterical voice, I jumped. Whoa, Keiichi-kun, are you on the baseball team? Baseball team? It was Rena and Mion. I was surprised to hear you went off ahead. What are you doing, Kei-chan? Can't you tell by looking? Practicing my swing for the championship. You can say it's a part of my diet if you want. Diet, Kei-chan. Are you really that fat? Bet you didn't know. I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and jiggles. Plump and jiggles. Rena, you don't have to imagine something weird like that. To disrupt Rena from imagining something vulgar, I ruffled her hair messily. Well then, hope you make it to regionals at least. This old man will cheer you on. Regionally speaking, it seems that Oshima High is pretty strong. They say their southpaw, Kamere-kun, is amazing. Kamere-kun? Good luck. Seems they've made me out as some kind of local prodigy, but oh well. Huh. Well, if I really did make it to the championship, it would be a cinch. After all, I'd be the pitcher and the catcher. I'd be the pitcher and catcher. I'd pitch the ball, then run past the ball I just threw and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. I laughed dryly at the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it. What am I laughing at? Patted the ground over and over. With each impact, the reverb traveling through the bat stung my hands. They make me smile like that. Oh, don't allow anyone close to me. Trust anyone. No matter how many times I tell myself that, if they made me smile like that, I already knew quite well that there were demons dwelling in my smiling friends, but just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how Rena confessed to the doctor. Were they simply being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? In other words, did a supernatural being like Oyashiro-sama really exist and it was possessing everyone to try and kill me? Yeah, that would be wonderful. If only everyone were actually my friends all along and everything was just Oyashiro-sama's fault. Damned fool, Keiichi Maebara, come on now. I yelled out, drawing all the power from the pit of my stomach and raised the bat violently into the air, being so soft. As I screamed out with all my might, I beat the metal bat into the ground over and over. With every impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash, forget. Smash, don't be soft. Smash, know your enemy. Smash, like hell I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaving up and down from my ragged breathing. I heard the first bell ring just as I calmed down. See, if the whole town was in on it, though, wouldn't the teacher not tell me that Oishi-san was here? Or was that just to hold up a message? I gasped with the sudden realization. That was the final bell. As I felt the tension drain from me, I let out a deep breath. Wait. Wait, he went through the whole school day? Wait, he went to class and it just happened to be that fast. Okay, I hope so. I hope he just didn't sit out there with the bat for the whole school day. I think he just went to class. It went by fast. And let's say for most of the entire day, I didn't feel like I was awake, but I didn't feel like I was asleep either. I couldn't say it felt especially comfortable, but I felt the kind of relief that the sanctity of the school, part of my daily life, has yet to been violated. How long would I have to keep living my life like this? I could only grit my teeth and bear with it as this living hell slowly gnawed away at me. Keiichi-kun, come on. It's club time. Club time. The sound of Rena's voice brought me back to my senses. Come on, Kei-chan, stop spacing out. Bring your desks, your desk. Everyone was moving their desks together as usual. That's right, it was happy, fun club time. But I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly shuffled. Ooh, dude, this is not a good idea. You should take part. I haphazardly stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag as I prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid having to actually say, I'll be going home now. Is this Kei-chan? You're planning on going home right away again? Neon sounded quite disappointed. I'm just not in the mood. Could you let me be just for a while? The tone of my words that spilled from my mouth matched Mion's disapproving glare. Felt like the air in the room had dried out. Dude, we are doing some fighting words? The Toko looked like she was about to say something, but perhaps dissuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. I took that to mean that I could leave if I wanted. But the collective gaze of the four of them, like the tiny pins used to mount an insect in a display, held me in place. Rena was the one to cut through the heavy mood. Keiichi-kun, you just didn't like playing with girls, I guess. You said it in such a melancholic tone that it sent a wave of pain racing through my heart. If this pain was going to kill me, I wanted it to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. I tore at my chest, violently tearing out the pins that held me in place. That's not it at all. I'd only be hurting myself by saying anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. They didn't speak a word to me as I left. I don't like white screens. Okay. It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. Firmly squeezed the grip of the bat, which was already soggy from sweat. Realizing that, I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. Since this morning, I had become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears perked up and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in. And that was why I could hear it. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. Those footsteps matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person, but I had no intention of being careless. They intend to follow me like that car this morning until they were in a good location to assault me. It wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. I stopped walking and looked back. The wooded path crowded with trees responded with silence, as if there was nobody there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain footsteps were following me. Just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well. Meaning the person following me wanted to keep their distance. That was, without a question, proof I was their target. I held my breath, waiting for the presence to panic and start moving again. Trees rustled with the sound of the wind. Higurashi also joined in the dissonant chorus, trying to throw off my focus into disarray. Had 5 minutes passed? Or had I been like this for a whole 30 minutes? It was so hard to breathe that I might have been suffocated. It would seem I would be the first one to panic. Without a doubt, he was lurking in that shade of the tree with the bated breath. Then I'd make my first move. I fixed my grip on the bat. I raised it up to my shoulder, getting ready to swing at any time. Hey, I know you're there. With all of my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shade of the trees. But the presence in the shade didn't budge. Until the moment I had found them, they had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already. I know you're there. I screamed out angrily at them again, but even still they didn't move at all. Then I'll go over there myself. With all due vigilance, I approached step by step. Stepping into the tree's shadow, I saw a human figure there. That figure was curled up like a small animal. Rena. When she realized I had found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? I wouldn't accept that silence and screamed a question at her. Not really, it's just, Rena was in a panic with her tears welling up in her eyes. But it was obvious that she had been following me. What about the club? Since you're not, I'm not. That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play. But, but I'm just worried about you. Thinking about how I'd been acting up until now, it wasn't hard to imagine that my behavior could be perceived as strange. So Rena was concerned. At a quick glance, that's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that really was the case, she still wouldn't have to do something like try to tail me. She should have called out to me when I was leaving and got out right with me. But Rena didn't do that. She kept her distance from me and matched my walking speed. Even when you called out to her, dude, she just stayed there. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously tried to hide her presence from me. Then, after she realized I noticed she was there, she held her breath and she tried hiding from me. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her, but without a doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me. Uh, uh. Still glaring at Rena, I continued walking onwards. After I'd walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again, so I yelled at her once more. I told you not to follow me. But my house is in the same direction. Then walk ahead of me. I'll start walking when I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and waved my bat violently to urge her forward. I'd like to go home together with you. Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice that she knew would cut into my heart. See, like, you can't, though, you know? That agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If you wanted to go home together, then you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies. Sorry, I'm sorry. It seemed that the seething anger within me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Rena had understood what I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her to walk again. Rena looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on then, hurry. Going. But please stop with the bat. It's scary. Rena guarded herself while pointing at me holding the bat. She may have realized that I wasn't planning on using this bat for baseball. I lowered the bat, but still guardedly opened the way for her. There's no problem now, is there? There's nothing else she could protest. I'm trying to think. I don't know how 360 this game is gonna pull. She passed by me so timidly as if not to set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after having barely moved at all. Hey, don't stop. A powerful gust? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait, she can control the elements? This is a completely different story. And I didn't even try to attack during that opening. She hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her fluttering skirt in the wind. As her skirt settled, so did the silence. At that moment, the voice inside me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed? Without me realizing it, the air around me felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It was like the air had suddenly become invisible concrete, like Rena and I were locked in this space. Rena didn't move an inch. Also unable to move, I stared at her back. Okay. Yeah, Rena's gonna talk some fucking bullshit to me right now. Instantly, she altered her stance. It felt like I had just witnessed her shift from Rena to that other person who looks like Rena. But the voice was the one I knew well, which filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice. Well, excuse me, but, can I ask you something? Too shy to even turn around, Rena had squeezed her voice out desperately, as she trembled. What? Well, why do you have a bat, I wonder? The question Rena asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want. But, but you didn't have one up until today. Why so suddenly? It's alright if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat? Because, Keiichi, you're not the type of person to play baseball. It's weird. I couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for, and I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. That's so weird? It's weird. She answered instantly, and that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball. I wanted to practice my swing, so I'm carrying around a bat. What's so strange about that? Strange. Weird. Definitely. Why is Keiichi-kun also... Ooh, your ramblings are annoying me. Dude, this Keiichi is ready to fight. I like it, dude. Is it that strange for me to have an interest in sports? I tried to sound a bit more threatening to end the conversation. Until my suspicions about Rena were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions. Sorry, I'm sorry. Don't get so angry. Rena still didn't turn around and spat out a couple words of apology one after the next. It just doesn't make sense, dude. Just one last thing. Tell me one last thing. I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she had been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely. But even though she was afraid, she stubbornly kept herself from moving. Yeah, just... Before I was able to threaten her again, Rena asked her final question. What? Why is that bat the same, too? What does she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying? I mean, why is even the bat the same? I don't understand what you mean at all. Say it clearly. Even still, Rena still didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, she screamed. So I'm just the reincarnation of Satoshi. I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi-kun's? Satoshi being a... Upon hearing that name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, did she mean the student who transferred out last year? No, that couldn't be. Rena had tried to cover it up by saying he transferred, but Oishi-san told me clearly that he was missing. He was the student who sat at my seat until last year. He was believed to have been demoned away by Oyashiro-sama's curse. I feel like we should just break the silence right now. Just be like, you know what? I fucking know, dude. How are you gonna freaking, you know? They haven't kept it a secret. You know? Just like, you have a bat. Let's go. Get swinging. I didn't know about the details about his disappearance. The aunt he lived with was killed the night of the Watanagashi by a drug addict, and not long after that, he suddenly vanished. Now was missing. That Satoshi and I were... what? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be... Satoshi Hyojo? It was a bit difficult to see, but that was what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see. So this was Satoshi's bat. Oh, this was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. Not a problem, is it? That's not it. The way Rena said that made it seem like this bat was something that should never be touched. Like it was some sort of offering at a shrine or a memento of the deceased. I could only stand there, perplexed, unable to respond. Rena continued speaking without waiting for a reply. Why is it that you're doing the exact same thing Satoshi-kun did when it happened to him? Rena was talking about more than just the bat belonging to Satoshi. It was the same with Satoshi-kun. He joined a baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball. What does that have to do with me? Satoshi-kun also started walking around with a bat one day. He joined a team, but he wasn't the type to play sports. What about it? Now I'm confused a little bit. Just a tiny bit, like it's throwing a curveball. I closed my mouth before I could say that out loud. Listen carefully, Keiichi-kun. Rena is trying to tell us something important. Satoshi-kun also, one day, came to school all by himself all of a sudden. Just like Keiichi-kun. Then one day, he suddenly started practicing his swing. Just like Keiichi-kun. And one day, he suddenly began carrying the bat around with him. Just like Keiichi-kun. And one day he suddenly what? Rena had swallowed her words. Rena's sudden silence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then I could finally begin to digest the content of the entire conversation. What was the meaning of this? Up until now, I'd forgotten all about Satoshi. Never paid him much thought in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know what he had done. My actions today should have been my own creation after all the planning I'd done. But had they been the exact same as Satoshi's? Then Satoshi, no, more importantly. If both Satoshi and I acted the same, then there was a really good possibility that what happened after would be the same. Rena, that day, what happened to Satoshi? Rena knew. She knew what had become of Satoshi. No, forget about what happened to a guy in the past. Rena knew what was going to happen to me. Answer me, Rena. Satoshi, what happened to him? With that, I grabbed Rena's shoulder violently and forcibly turned her around to face me. This is when she has the eyes. Ready? Yeah, boom. She's like, he died, with the stupid eyes. Told you. Yeah, here we go. Keiichi-kun. It was the person that I didn't know. At least it definitely wasn't the Rena Ryugu I'd been talking to up until now. That voice just now didn't have a trace of trembling or emotion that it had before. The amount of regret I felt for turning her around so carelessly was unsurpassed. That gaze pierced like a cold needle. A smile on her face that invoked the image of having been carved out by a knife. Chills went down my spine. My mind froze under a layer of rime. Both of Rena's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away. As if to remind me of the fear from that time before, Rena brought her face close to mine, so close that I could feel her breath. Her face had filled my entire field of vision. Then, her sharply shaped lips grew even sharper, like the curve of a crescent moon. She grinned. I told you, Keiichi-kun. After a short pause, Rena repeated the same words again. Satoshi-kun, you see, transferred out. Transferred meaning what? What Rena meant must have been some new definition of transfer that I was... Are you serious? My throat and lips dried up and I couldn't even acknowledge what I just heard. All I could do now was swallow my freaking... It would seem that Rena saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back 2-3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Rena, and me on my knees underneath her emotionless smile. That had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in a pathetic state, she neither scoffed at me nor held out her hand. Dude, you need to stop being freaking immobilized by that. I could neither stand nor escape her gaze shooting through my eyes. There was undoubtedly a metal bat in my hand, but right now it was useless to me, like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body. I could feel it dripping from my skin. But you won't, will you, Keiichi-kun? Rena finally released me from that cage of time after what felt like an eternity. But her question was missing something important, and was incredibly vague. Once again I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What did she not want me to do? Transfer. That's a great transition. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and save it here because I know this is the halfway point and it's not the end, right? Okay. Yeah. This is a good spot to save. So I have a couple of things that I've kind of come up with here. Um, the idea that me and Satoshi were doing the same thing, that is interesting to hear. I don't know if that's true or not because it's coming from the mouth of a liar. So that is kind of waived as far as that goes. I'm thinking based off that encounter alone, I think for sure now that there are demons in this game. And I have kind of been wishy-washy on whether or not there have been demons or there would be demons in this game because it was so true to like just slice of life like every day. But the way that they're making it seem, and I don't know if this is intentional, which is another thing, is like you have to know what the visual novel wants you to think before you make your decision on what you want to think, you know? Because if the the whole point of making an interesting story is making it so um it feels like it's random, you know. It feels like the story being presented to you is like thought out, crafted, and it would be a boring story if you knew right from the start everything that was about to happen. So with that in mind, I'm kind of like I'm trying to think of how deep this game wants to go. Right now, I think there are demons because Rena-chan had tried to warn me, but then there was like a point in time where they like brought me into an area, like they controlled the wind, which is dangerous, by the way. If they can control the wind and have dust go into my eye or some shit, and we were kind of like in a secluded area, which makes me think that they have ominous powers, you know, besides just being able to be a human. I'm thinking that there's definitely a demon inside Renan, and I think here's my theory: is that because of this is where the game is going to get dodgy, where my friends are inside those bodies, right? But I'm over here, like killing them, you know, and like I don't want to kill them because they're my friends, but there's a demon inside them, and that's how I think this game is going to play out. Is is Brenna? I think everybody at this point. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Rika-chan and Satoko do anything crazy suspicious, but the way that it's making the game is like signaling or singling them out. Um, I think that definitely they probably have demons inside them too, and the fact that Brenna tried to warn me makes me think that maybe Brenna's still in there. I don't know. I'm kind of repeating what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to like process all of what just happened. That the problem with them there being actual demons in this is that a bat is not going to help me. So, well, I mean, it could if you get the drop on the demons, you know. But if the demons are always watching, the town is without a doubt in on it, you know. Like the town is without a doubt the like people trying to get me to die. I'm thinking, and I still think this to this day. I know this is a long outro, but I just want to voice all my opinions real quick. Um, I'm thinking that I was right about the whole games thing being a part of this because in order to get away from the town, I'm going to need to tell people that I'm in a certain place or tell my mom to tell somebody else that I'm in a different place than I am. So that way they'll go looking for me there. That way I'm off the radar and I can get the drop on one of them, you know, or something like that. I also, oh God, there's so many theories going through my head. There also might be the possibility that I'm crazy. And in that possibility, everything that I'm experiencing right now is me going crazy. I don't think that that's where the game is going. I think the game is going to the point where I have to kill my friends. I'm gonna get arrested for killing my friends, but I'm the one that solved the curse. But then I might be crazy because I'm killing my friends, and that's what makes me go crazy. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, that's my theories. Um, Let me know what you think, even though you guys already know the answer. So don't do that. I will talk to you guys in the next episode of this, whenever this may be. Leave a like if you liked it. That's the most important thing. I know this was an hour long, but they will be shorter next time. We just had to go through all the tips, and there was a lot more I had to say this time around, so it's a little bit longer. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're going to try to finish this game, and we're going to see what happens at the end. Peace out, you guys.